Hello and welcome back to the Football Chat. Today we're going to be talking about the turmoil at Ajax and why they currently find themselves 16th in the Eredivisie. It's very unfamiliar to see Ajax not top of the Eredivisie. It's even more unfamiliar to see them in the relegation zone. So a shocking start to the season really, hasn't it? For Ajax.
It's been really poor, as you say. We usually expect the very, very best, and I think it's one of those scenarios where you name it, it has gone wrong at Ajax. It could be even the kitchen staff. I bet the food tastes horrible.
Surely, they're flopping.
It has been so poor this year in every single department, and that's the problem. They thoroughly deserve to be where they are.
Yeah, the problem is they've gone from such a well-oiled machine with one of the best squads in the league, or arguably the best squad in the league by quite some distance, and a team that can get to Champions League semi-finals, to a team that look a shadow of their former self. They're looking inexperienced, don't look like they want to fight for the team, and, well, the fans are not happy about it, of course. So they're 16th in the league, 5 points from 6 matches. They have got a few games in hand on teams around them, but that doesn't negate the fact that they're only 16th, and they're already 19 points off of PSV Eindhoven, the Eredivisie table toppers. They're 17 points off Alkmaar, 16 off Twente, and 15 off Final. They're close rivals. So a shocking start to the campaign. I don't think you can describe it any other way. What's gone wrong? What's going to say wrong?
I mean, I think the problem is usually you have at a football club, even if stuff goes wrong off the pitch, on the pitch is doing well. Or if stuff on the pitch is going badly, off the pitch it's running fine. Both have gone to complete meltdown.
Yeah. Should we talk about that game?
Yeah.
Because it's the most different. Ajax 0, Feyenoord 4. Now, the reason this is so interesting, not only because Ajax lost the derby 4-0, but because of the protests. So, quite an intense game, usually, between the two sides. You expect to see fireworks. Not literally, though. Yeah. And that was the big difference in this derby. There wasn't the fight on the pitch, but there was in the fans. Ajax went 2-0 down very, very quickly. Then it went to 3-0, and at that point, the fans were very, very unhappy with the showing. Resorted to fan protests and causing the match to be abandoned because they started throwing on fireworks and other projectiles, obviously risking the player's safety. And then they had to pause the game momentarily. Came over the stadium announcer, if you keep this up, we're going to cancel the game. Yeah. And Ajax fans saw that as a challenge. How many fireworks can we throw on the pitch? And obviously the game then had to be called off with the last 30 minutes or so being played at a later date and behind closed doors. Feyenoord added another goal and won 4-0. But yeah, it's a really weird situation at the club right now, and I think the fans are more than warranted in their anger. I think that, if we just mention a few names, fans will already be seething. I think the name Sven Mislintat can get you murdered. But yeah, I think it's been a real difficult start to the season for Ajax. Lost a lot of very good players, sent a lot of unknown players, and it's not worked out so far. So shall we talk about that transfer strategy? I think it's first good to talk about the success and the period where Marc Overmars was in charge of football. We'll talk about his indiscretions in a moment, but let's start with the success. What were Ajax so good? What were they so good at? Why were they so renowned across Europe?
We saw them do it. It's why they got to the Champions League final in that year. They bought in players. They bought in these really young players, like the likes of De Ligt, the likes of Timber, who are really good for Ajax, and then they've sold them on for incredible profits. Obviously, to De Ligt to Juventus was a few years ago now. Timber to Arsenal has only just happened, but he was Ajax for a good couple of years and put in stellar performances. They're shifting on these players and getting a lot of money for them, but also getting the best out of them on the pitch when they play in an Ajax shirt.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What they do best is obviously have trust in their youth academy. If we look at their academy products, Ryan Gravenberch, you've got, as you mentioned, De Ligt, you've got De Jong as well in there, you've got Timber, as you've said. So loads and loads more, of course, of examples, and they've got all those. But what they also did was those cheap bargains. They went and picked up Seb Aller, a player that wasn't really in favour at West Ham, got him at 5-10 mil, something.
Scored
really
4 goals in 11 minutes in the Champions League.
Yeah, and then he crushed it that season. And 1 year later, they sold him for £40 million to buy Borussia Dortmund. Incredible. So that's what they're so good at, turning a huge profit on players, developing players really well, and trusting in their youth academy. And it just created this perfect sort of storm in 2018-19, the season, and that led them to get into the Champions League semi-final. I think in the eyes of many, they could have gone all the way to the final. And if they're in that final, who knows what they do on that day. Yeah, I think that's not really worked so far since Marc Overmars left. Overmars had such strong contacts in the game, and we've heard a lot in the past about how he used to deal.
Yeah.
He was very keen on using WhatsApp, and he was able to use his name as almost a contact. Yeah.
What's your special strategy? Mate, I've got WhatsApp. Messing it for me.
Well, I guess you could communicate to everyone.
Yeah.
It's not like...
It's not a professional email, it's just a, hi mate, can we buy your play?
And I think that was the big difference, is Marc Overmars' name holds so much weight given who he is, that he was able to convince some great players like Seb Allaire. Would he really have downgraded Premier League to Eredivisie? Probably not. But when
Marc Overmars on the
when Marc Overmars on the buzzer, and then he tells you you're going to play for Ajax, who are such a prestigious club, entrenched in history. I think that really does add. It is a massive sway factor. Now, of course, it is completely understandable why Marc Overmars was no longer in football. Many allegations of inappropriate messages to female colleagues, and obviously they can be proved because they're messages, including many other allegations, indiscretions. So it's completely understandable why he was removed from his post. However, he is already back in football 6 weeks after Ajax. Well, Ajax basically said to him, do you want to leave?
Yeah.
And he left. It was
Jump
like
before you push.
Exactly. And 6 weeks later, he's back in football at Royal Antwerp.
Oh wow!
Which it's interesting, isn't it? But
I thought it was Saudi Arabia or.
I guess they can look past those indiscretions, knowing he'll be very good at his job, because he is very good at his job.
Exceptional.
Should we talk about successor? Because I think he's a lot more interesting, isn't he? Sven Mislintat. It's a name that'll be very familiar amongst Arsenal fans out there that are watching. Probably not many people who would hold much favour.
No, he's not held in the highest regard
exactly
across the footballing world.
He's good at his job, and I think that's well recognised. But he's not considered one of the best. He's done a lot of interesting things, and this summer at Ajax was his most ambitious project and possibly his biggest failure. So. Yeah. Sven Mislintat came in very much with the goal of, I'm going to completely change Ajax. It's going to be a huge revolution, out with the old and in with the new. And I want to start with some of those sales.
But I mean, to replace Marc Overmars and come in and go, I'm going to change this whole team.
You know what we're going to do? This team that's won the Eredivisie for years on end. I'm going to rip it to shreds. But let's see.
That's what he's done. He succeeded, if anything.
Let's look through his departures. So Daley Blind was his first to go, allowing Daley Blind to leave on a free transfer. Then it was Florian Grillitsch, who wasn't a key member of the squad. A free transfer. You've lost a decent player on a free. Probably not really worth it. Then there was Jurrien Timber, Dusan Tadic, Calvin Bassey, Edson Alvarez, Mohamed Darami, Mohamed Kudus, Jorge Sanchez, Davy Klaassen, Chico Conceição. You've got Owen Vidal. It's everyone. That's the whole team.
And all the old guard mixed. There was the young talents. That's what happened was when they sell the young talents, bring the new ones in. You've got players like Blind and Klaassen on Tadic who were there to help them learn the ropes. He got rid of them.
On top of that, they never sold more than a few talents in a window.
No.
They would never let 5 or 6. They wouldn't allow a max exodus. Even after the Champions League, they only let De Jong and De Ligt go.
And that was it. They kept
last summer, it was the same story with Anthony, where they managed to get £100 million from him. That's a great bit of business.
And obviously Marc Overmars.
Yeah, exactly. It was a summer in between the two, rather than being they managed to keep Van der Beek another year. And that's what they did so well. They didn't sell everything at once, but this was a huge exodus. And obviously that required a lot of transfers. So his first pickup was Benjamin Tahirovic, a very unknown player from Roma, 20-year-old Bosnian midfielder, for £7 million. And
you lost Klaassen.
A lot of players for free, and you bring in this unknown kid. I get taking gambles, but he had played 13 games for Roma over the season, and they spent £17 million on someone they didn't know would be good enough. Yeah. He's played 4 Europa League games and 4 games in the Eredivisie, and has very much failed to impress. 1 assist in that time. Then it was Branko van der Boomen on a free. That is a fantastic bit of business, to be fair. It hasn't really worked out yet. He's a good player, though. So far, he's not shot 1 goal in 6 Eredivisie matches. And I think that is a good bit of business, though, to be fair. On a free transfer, a player that really excelled at Toulouse. Then there was Diant Ramai, and a goalkeeper from Frankfurt. But 6 months earlier, they signed Hieronymo Rulli. What was the thinking behind that?
So bizarre.
I guess he's a backup. But they've loaned him out anyway. Well, he's playing for young Ajax. He's not playing for the Ajax first team. So
That's a bit pointless.
yeah, 22 years old. I guess one day he'll be in the first team.
Yeah.
Carlos Borges, a very good player, but is it a risk they needed to take?
No,
It's not their usual sort of signing, is it? £12 million from Man City, a good young prospect. But they sold. They've bought The problem is you can sign a few good young prospects. That's fine. All he did was sign good young prospects.
And they've already got. What Ajax do is they use their own young prospects. They don't go and buy other people's.
Yeah, Jakov Medic, the centre half, looks lost. Chuba Akpom has not really adapted very well.
Bizarre.
He's a very good player. Had a very good season under Carrick, but that was one good year. It was not enough to warrant a £15 million purchase. Anton Gay, the fullback, 20 years old, has barely played any senior football. Had 1 season, or sorry, 1.5 seasons at Viborg in Denmark. Josip Sutalo, a decent pickup, but a 23-year-old who's only ever played in the Croatian league.
They're all just massive gambles.
It feels like he's played FM. In FM, this would be amazing because all the players will develop well and you'll have this great fun team if you put them in the right tactic. Bob's your uncle, lovely days. But this isn't FM. You can't just sign 23-year-olds and sell all your 35-year-olds. Then it was Gaston Avila, a 22-year-old left-back. He has looked good, to be fair.
Yeah.
But, and a very passionate Argentinian man, it has to be said.
He's the golden rubbish bag, isn't he?
Yeah, then Jorge, I'm guessing, Mikhail Tadze is a Georgian striker for 14 million from Metz.
I couldn't say who he is.
I've seen him, I've heard of him before, but I can't understand it. He spent, last season was his first season with Metz. He spent the 2 seasons before that on loan.
Yeah.
He was at Metz, but he didn't play for the first team. Last season, 26 goals and 43 appearances. That's good.
Yeah.
But you've already gambled on every other player.
Yeah.
Why not just sign a striker you know?
At some point, just stop gambling.
Then Sivert Mansverk, and this is when you really go, well, he's just playing FM, because this kid was great on FM this season, on this year's edition of the game. I think there's a lot to come from him.
Yeah.
He's only played 45 minutes so far, in which he picked up an injury, which it was ruled him out till mid-September. So
not great. Mid-September? It's October.
Mid-October, sorry, is what I meant. Yeah. So he should be back after internationals. But yeah, and then the most controversial one, not because he's not a bad player, but because of the situation around it, is Borna Sosa now. Borna Sosa, good fullback. I've often advocated for him to get a move to the Premier League or something like that. But this is why Sven Mislintat is now unemployed. Or part of it. I don't think signing loads of young talents and it not working has played in his favour either. But so the whole situation with Borna Sosa is that apparently Mislintat owns shares in the agency which is responsible for Borna Sosa. So obviously all footballers have agents. Borna Sosa's agent is part of that. He's part of a wider agency which Mislintat has shares in. Evidently, this represents a conflict of interest because by signing him for Ajax, he is inadvertently lining his own pockets, and I think that creates a massive issue when a sporting director has shares in an agency. I can't understand how he's been allowed to do that.
No.
But he has that.
I'll look at it and go, hang about, that's not right.
And I think that's why he left Ajax. On top of the fact he
wouldn't have lasted long.
Top of the fact he was.
They'd have ran at him. They'd charged him.
He was very much the first man to go. The one whose head was very much on the line, and it got chopped off immediately. But the whole boardroom needs an overhaul. And we're going to talk a little bit later about how they turned it all around. But the whole boardroom's an issue. I want to highlight one guy in particular. Jan van Halst is another name Ajax fans will be particular with. Probably because he's an ex-player. Ex-footballer, played for Ajax, then became a TV analyst and a leadership developer. That's just a fancy word for unemployed, really. Anyway, at the start of this season, this revamp, they brought him in as a part of the supervisory board, and then he became the interim CEO. Now, how on earth has a guy with no experience at running a football club become interim CEO? How has he managed this?
He started as a leadership. What was it?
Leadership developer.
And now he's the interim CEO.
What does a leadership developer do? Just go in and
develop leadership.
Yeah, goes to companies and makes leaders. Like what's that entail? Yeah. But I don't know how he's managed to become the interim CEO. I think that represents the problems from top to bottom. I mean, Overmars has gone. Van der Sar is gone. and he was brilliant for years. I just can't understand what is going on at the club right now, and it's not helped out. It's not helped out with the media. But we'll get into that in just a second. So transfers, financial issues, and a power vacuum contributed to Ajax's problems. They lost their big leaders in the boardroom. They've got in a load of inexperienced idiots, and they've sold all their talent and bought a load of children. It's a massive and a massively ambitious project, and so far it's resulting in 5 points from 6 games.
The fans like no one. They don't like the board, they don't like the manager, and they don't like the players.
I mean, Van der Sar was cornered after the Ajax Feyenoord game, and asked about all the decisions so far. I know a lot of the reasons they've failed will be put down to the fact that Overmars has gone, but he's got to take some responsibility as well. Even Van der Sar,
Van der Sar, mate.
He's been great leading Ajax, and now he's just not doing very well. Anyway, and then in the media, lots of ex-Ajax players have been very openly criticising the club.
I like that though.
I like it, but I don't know how helpful it is when the club's already struggling. You've got
Van der Sar thinking, come on, we're
a lot of that. Yeah, exactly. You had Wesley Schneider. You had Rafael van der Vaart, which is the most interesting one. And Van der Vaart said most recently that they need to bring in Louis van Gaal. He has to come back to Ajax, which is interesting.
It'll be a great appointment.
I don't know. It feels
at least the fans might like it.
It's a bit like it's just taking.
That they like.
Yeah, it feels like it's a big step backwards. But the manager's not in favour at all.
Equally,
he still has his job for now, though.
I feel like they should go back to what they know because that was working.
Maurice Stein been in charge since July. Safe to say it's not been the perfect start to the campaign.
No, replacing Erik ten Hag like this is not.
They've won one match.
Yeah. And it's not even in the Eredivisie, in Europe as well. They're in the Europa League.
They've got the worst group they could have had, to be fair.
Athens, I know, but they draw to Athens, draw to Marseille when they're in a winning position in both games.
Yeah.
And they got into this for a qualifier, didn't they?
They beat Ludogorets 4-1 on the away leg and then lost 1-0 on the home leg, which says it all right now about how they're feeling at the Johan Cruyff Arena.
The fact they're in the Europa League to start with, massive shot.
And I think that's hurt the finances a lot. Yeah. Last season's failures really damaged the club.
Again, this bloody Maurice.
For the first time in years, Feyenoord won the league. I think that there's a big issue with re-signing Van Gaal in that it feels like a huge step backwards. I mean, the perfect manager for Ajax is managing their rivals, and I think that's the biggest issue right now. Arne Slot, one of the most highly sought after coaches in the world last summer, managed to stay at Feyenoord, and that's the problem for Ajax, that Feyenoord still have Slot and they've still got a fantastic
team. If Roma sack Jose Mourinho, why not, eh?
Well, I don't look like it's going to happen anymore. Roma are flying again, But
Jose Mourinho does.
Yeah, there's been a lot of administrative challenges. It's been a real tough time at the club, and that's resulted from that mess in the boardroom and a lot of bad performances on the pitch. But they can turn it around. It's Ajax, for God's sake. They're going to turn it around. You don't play in the Johan Cruyff Arena and not know how to turn.
He would not be very happy.
He would not be sat up there. It's not quite in shot, unfortunately. Yeah. But turning it around then. So they've made it quite clear that they need to reset the club culture and address all these administrative issues. Of course, they've got to sort out their boardroom. They've got to sort out the who's in charge
and
better if
no
the direction.
If they had no board member, they'd probably do better.
I quite like what they're doing. So what they're now doing is they're bringing in a former player-based board. So that what they're doing, they've set up a 2-year talent program involving former players to improve club administration. So they've still got the people who know how to run a football club there. But what they've done is they've brought in ex-players to guide them, and I think that's really crucial because you've got players who understand the club. And I think, as I say, that's really, really important. Different former players getting involved in various departments of the club, including media and other stuff. Yeah. So, they will be massively helpful. I've completely forgotten their names, though. I'm just going to have a quick search for that. But do you think that's a good idea? Bringing those former
definitely.
Players?
They are players that have bled for Ajax. They bleed the red and white, and they know what it feels like to play in front of those fans, to make those fans do those fans proud, rather than just a load of people who don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
Who might be good at their job, but they don't know what it feels like to be Ajax, and those players do.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always obviously I know Frank Lampard he did alright at Chelsea, but it didn't go great. But bringing back ex-players as managers to clubs, they know what it means to go out there and play in front of those fans, so it matters more to them, I feel. And I think it's really important. I think it's a great idea. But as you say, it's Ajax. They're not suddenly become really bad now. They will be back, and it's still long way to go in the season.
Yeah, so just on Edwin van der Sar, something I've completely forgotten to mention is that obviously he did have that brain hemorrhage last summer, still recovering from that, and that's left them without a general manager to report to. So Mislintat has been in charge, which is not what a director usually does.
Shite.
Yeah, but they've got someone coming in March called Alex Cruz. That's March.
That's it.
They've got a long time until then. I'm just going to quickly.
Why would the bloke come in now? Why would you get a guy to come in March?
So players coming in: Ricardo van Rijn, you maybe remember him, the right back; Daniela de Rida, Siem de Jong, and Kelly Zeman, all coming in to try and oversee the club, sort out the issues around the club. But
they will be back.
Yeah, you'd expect Ajax to
this year. It's just about recovering what they can.
Yeah, very much so, and hopefully we see Ajax at the top in the near future.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think that's everything for today. Of course, Ajax fans, please get involved in the comments below. Leave your thoughts on the situation at the club, and please educate us further. I did do some research for this video, as you can probably tell, I hope. but it's always more to learn. So please leave your thoughts. Please, give your opinions. That would be fantastic to hear. That is everything, though, for today, guys. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.